Assalamu alaikum. Last night was the 27th night of Ramadan, and according to a number of narrations, the 27th is very highly likely to be the night of the decree, Laylatul Qadr. Now, obviously, we can't say for sure, we can't affirm and assert that it is the 27th. The Prophet ﷺ did say that if you wanted to seek out the night of the decree, that you want to try to get it in the last 10 days of Ramadan on the odd nights. Nevertheless, what you want to do is, because we have other narrations pointing to the fact that the Prophet ﷺ did allude to it being on the 27th, if you happen to have a schedule that doesn't allow you to stay up all night and to seek it out like on all odd nights, and you had a chance to just pick one night, you had a really high you have really good odds if you point to the 27th night. So one of the things you do during the 27th night is you pray, you recite Quran, you stand up in prayer, you make dua, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for things. And I had a thought last night as I was doing that, which is, we tend to think of religion as being something solely focused on the hereafter. That the only thing you want to seek to attain is success in the hereafter. And we neglect to think about success in this world in a real tangible sense. Many folks think of religion oddly enough, in a rahbaniya way, a monkhood type of way. That to get good with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to discard the world and leave the world and not have any attachments to anything in the world. Now, that is true, but it seems to be a little bit popularly misunderstood. We are a people that ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. That grant us good in this world and grant us good in the next world. If you look at the companions, look at some of the biographies, there have been some studies looking at the wealth that they amassed while they were alive. And if you were to translate that wealth into modern parlance and to try to see what the equivalent would be for modern world, these people would have been on the Fortune 500. The Prophet ﷺ was rolling with billionaires, to really put it bluntly. The difference, though, for them, you look at how they lived and how they conducted their lives, many of them you wouldn't even know it. You wouldn't suspect it of them. And the reason for it is because they did not live with the sense of the world being in their heart. It was in their hands. So they worked hard, they sought after things, they made money, they succeeded in real estate, they succeeded in whatever endeavors they sought. And they worked hard at it, and they wanted to gain whatever they could out of it. But that never entered their heart. Their focus was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter, but that did not stop them from wanting to be successful in this world. And as I was praying last night and making my du'as and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for things, it just struck me that as we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for things, there's almost a bit of a shyness that you don't want to ask for too much, for fear of being extravagant in your asking. Thing is, if you really think about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the possessor of everything. You don't own anything. You don't even own your own body. He possesses all of the wealth in the world. He possesses all of the power in the world. And He just distributes it accordingly as He wishes. There is nothing wrong with you. In fact, you should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything that your heart desires. And make sure that you ask for success in this world and in the next world. There's nothing wrong in you asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you want to be a very successful, intelligent, rich person for the sake of helping people or for the sake of whatever. As long as you're asking the dua is not for the sake of a materialist thing, that you want to, the Prophet ﷺ said that there are one thing that you can, there are a couple of things that you can, two things that people are envied for. A person who has the Quran memorized so that they can pray at night, that's a good envy for you to have, that you want to have that so that you can utilize it for a greater means. And someone who has wealth, that they spend it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help people, that's another thing. So it's not wrong for you to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you want to be a rich person, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be a really powerful rich person so that I can take that and help people with it. Now, how do you prove yourself? You know, we can all make that dua. Oh Allah, please make me this way so that I can be this way. You have to start off small. So whatever resources you have right now, you have to start with them so that you can show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you're going to be that way when you do get rich. That from now, as you have the limited resources that you have, you're going to give from these resources without fear of poverty. There's a girl that was on Twitter, the video is by Al Jazeera Plus, AJ Plus, shared, where this young Muslim woman, she's baking totally natural these power bars, and I think she called it Cure. Now she's getting calls to wholesale and things like that. But what she did was, it's brilliant. The small enterprise that she has going, for every Cure bar that she sells, those granola, very healthy, nice energy bars, for every bar that she sells, she gives one away for the needy. And so for you, what you need to do is that whatever good that you have right now, whatever limited resources you have right now, you want to prove yourself with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if you do become a rich person, you will give it out. Well, start with what you got. Do not, they say, لا تحقرن عملا لصغره. Don't debase or think lowly of an action because it's small. Don't think that, oh, it's just $1. It needs to be something significant. You need to start giving forward, passing it forward now, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give more to you. And the more Allah gives to you, the more you give. The more you do that, you will see wealth amassed in this world like no other. And the more you do it with the right pure intention, the more wealth you will see accumulating for you in the hereafter. And that's how you get رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. You want to become whatever you want to become for the sake of service. Muhammad Ali, in his funeral, they were sharing one of his most profound statements, rahimahullah. He said that service to others is the rent that you pay for your space here on earth. And look at what Muhammad Ali did and how he became. So that's what you got to do. Whatever resources that you have, whatever things that you have, no matter how small, you need to really go out there and give whatever little time you have, or whatever little money that you got, give that to people, and you will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala return that to you. An analogy you can think of is like a water pipe. If a water pipe that is supposed to deliver water through from point A to point B, if it becomes clogged, what do? You call the plumber, and they come and they clean it out. And if the pipe is corroded and it's gone and it's just not going to work out, what does he do? He changes it. That's really what we're all about here in the world. We're like those water pipes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wealth is coming towards us, and He's testing us with it. We think of tests as the test of poverty, that I'm poor, that I don't have anything, and so now I gotta persevere and be patient. We don't think about the opposite side. The flip side of that is the test of wealth. The test of, I have food, like Ramadan right now. You have food, and your test is to abstain from it. You have wealth, your test is to look at it and say, that is not gonna enter my heart. You have something that's really nice and someone that's needy compliments you on it, and you go like, you know what? You can have it. I don't need this thing. Once you start doing that, you'll have a different perspective, and research is now pretty much established on this. Happiness is not attained by coveting and getting things and bringing them to your life and keeping them and hoarding them, becoming a hoarder of the dunya. Happiness comes from giving to others, serving others, taking the tribulations off of others. That's how happiness is attained. So anyways, I'll leave it at that because I want to keep these videos short, but inshallah this will maybe drive you to, when you go through that drive-through today and buy your coffee or buy your food, that, hey, pay for the guy behind you. Just ask the person, the cashier, can I pay for both myself and the person behind me? If you're at a grocery store and you see someone that is not at the grocery store, but you know someone who's needy, you take them to the grocery store and you buy their groceries for the week for them. I mean, you gotta, and trust me, it doesn't matter how small the action is. I'll finish off with the story. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, when he passed away, when he was martyred, he was seen in a dream. And the man in the dream said to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. And Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu said, what Amir al-Mu'mineen? That talk is done. These titles are done. There's no more Amir al-Mu'mineen. And he said, okay, ma fa'ala Allahu bik? What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do with you? And he said, I saw all of my actions in the world as a great throne that was about to collapse. And just the thing that prevented it from collapsing was one incident in which I was walking by one day and I saw the children that had tied up a bird and they were playing with it, but it was clearly in distress. So I freed the bird. That bird came and saved my throne from collapse of actions. Now look at how, seemingly insignificant thing that he probably didn't think much of at the time when he did it, Umar al-Khattab. The things that we hear about Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu is, the time when he came with half of his wealth, for example, to help with the Prophet ﷺ and the believers, and then he saw that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq came with all of his wealth. I mean, we hear about these extravagant things, but it was this little action of just saving a bird. Like, what? So it doesn't matter if it's an animal, it doesn't matter if it's a tree, a plant. It's usually these insignificant things that we don't think about, because and in turn they don't enter our hearts, and so we don't end up having ujub, we don't end up having this ego about them. These are the ones that really save us. So take these little actions and try to do whatever you can. Just by doing this, you will notice a transformation in your life. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.